That's the red light. Hello and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly, bringing you Transformers news from around the world on this lovely Sunday afternoon. This is episode 165. We're recording live on Sunday, September 9th, 2018. And in this episode, we'll be talking about Bagcube joining the Legend Scale War. We have a good look at the upcoming Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee film. And Ask and You Shall Receive. Last Night Bulldog on the way from the third-party companies. All that and much more coming up after this. All right. Yes, hello, welcome. This is the live YouTube record for the Australian Transformers Weekly podcast. I'm Brad Ostrom Prime, and joining me on this Sunday is Max from South Australia. Hello, Max.
How's it going?
Good, man. I've just had to bolt back from Corryong. I was up there camping for the night and enjoying nature, and had to rush home so I could meet this short time.
Podcast.
One good thing up there, there's no mobile reception, so it was. I think I just got back into the reception range when I got the message from you saying you'd add something to the run sheet.
Yeah. It's always good to get out there. It's also because there's just so many spots in country Victoria, you know.
Yeah, yep, and it's getting smaller. More and more people are getting out there and four-wheel driving and getting into the remote spots and making them less populated, more populated.
Yeah.
Weekend warriors. But this isn't the Australian Caravanning podcast. This is Australian Transformers Weekly. This week, I don't really know. Have you been up to anything much this week?
Bugger all, really.
Yeah.
Just same old work and uni.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, well, we can get straight into it then.
Yeah, very exciting life I lead.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say much too. The current drought's going to affect work soon. I might be looking for a new job, so yay again.
Fun times. Jesus.
Just need to go for a year or so with the same job. It would be good. All right, Bot Shots Weekly, the weekly TCC Facebook photography competition where you get your bot out of its display off its shelf and get it out in the real world and strike a pose, add a funny caption. Whatever you wish to try and be in the weekly draw or in the monthly draw, for a free figure. And this week, I won. Finally, I normally stay clear of it, but last weekend I'd done a bit of clearing out in the shed, and all my movie bots went away except for Megatron. And while I was cleaning some stuff out, I found this toilet, so I was sort of umming and ahhing about how to do things. I was going to have this Voyager on it and have the leader looking down over it like father, like son, and some other things. And I ended up just
just toilet training him.
Yeah, exactly. So ended up with with him kneeling down and having to clean the toilet. So I'm in the draw. Yay! I'll probably if I get my name pulled out, I'll probably redraw it.
Oh, just give it to me.
I might get Chris, our vice president, to draw it. That way it's not biased.
Yeah, it'd be like kind of awkward, but earned and quite fun.
Yeah. So keep an eye out on Monday mornings, or normally by Monday lunchtime the post goes up in the group. Post your figure up undoctored, and you can be in the draw. The one with the most likes of the week wins. Going into some news, we've seen some. I don't think they were prototypes. I think they were coloured images a few weeks ago of Power of the Primes, Punch Counterpunch, and Primer Prime. And now we got some more in-hand coloured images of them. Max, tell me a little bit about this two-headed freak.
Right. Okay. So basically, this is originally, it's Punch Counterpunch. So sort of Autobot Decepticon double agent from G1 had this toy where you sort of change things around, and you can give it two vaguely similar looks. And now, after a fair while since they did an exclusive Timelines figure, they're bringing him back, and he has just released. Looks to be he's part of this trio of wrap-up figures for Prime Wars. So I did this guy, Repugnus, and Blastoff in like their own individual boxes. And it's just sort of a way of, just putting a cap on the Prime Wars trilogy. And then, so this is basically just the end of the last few years of Generations.
Yep. Yeah, and such a long way we've come. You look at some of those early classics going into early generations, Cup, Warpath, a lot of those figures, even up to Springer and Sandstorm, and then sort of going into the Combiner Wars trilogy and Power of the Primes, and that it's been a massive difference across the generations line.
Yeah, it's like such a long running line that's always sort of supposed to be, this is for G1 Redux type thing. It's surprising how vastly different the different subsections of the generations line have looked over that time period.
Yeah, and just how simplistic we've got.
Yeah, it almost seems like a downgrade in a lot of respects nowadays.
Yeah,
Like they don't. There were some weaker figures in the earlier lines, but I don't think we've quite hit the same sort of quality that we got in the 2010 and 2013 lines.
yeah,
Which is a bit of a shame. It's not to say there's anything bad, mind you. Like you can look at, you can see in the images of Punch Counterpunch here, like yeah, he's got a couple weaker sections, like to change his head. You literally just turn it around, and he's got another face on the back of his head. But it looks to be a couple little like clever little bits that they've done to help him transform, like you see on the car mode and what have you. There's a decent amount going on there to create, a different look for this guy.
Yeah, and across the board, it's a good-looking figure, and it's sort of another one of those figures that probably would never get a release in previous years or previous waves, and at least now for collectors and fans of him from G1, you've got something to represent him on your shelf.
Yeah, it's like one of those niche items that is really well beloved by a large subset of a fan base, but just would not have the holding power to be able to, make it on mass retail shelves.
Do you know if any of the third-party companies have had a go at a masterpiece scale or a chug scale one?
I'm sure there's been a prototype thrown around at some point, but I'm almost certain that nothing's come to production.
Yeah.
It's one of those characters where you'd think it'd be, ripe for third parties, but just no one touches it.
Maybe because of the same thing, you can have a $150 figure that simply just turns around.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, on a third party budget, if they could change it up to some extent other than just flipping it around.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this format, it is basically just changed around, with a couple of little panel transformations here and there.
Mm.
I mean, for a simplistic process, it does seem to achieve a decent amount in terms of especially in terms of the silhouette changing.
Yeah.
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 It's there. It exists. It's nothing. I want to say it looks amazing, but it really isn't anything particularly special.
And the unfortunate thing is too, if this would be coming out the very end of the Power of the Primes wave before we get into Siege, so good luck finding it anywhere. Get on the online retails as soon as you see pre-order go up anywhere. Get on it because you won't. This will go pretty quick and it won't be seen again.
Yeah,
you'd imagine.
This Blast Off and Repugnus are like online specialty item type things, so you're only going to be able to get them at places like Robot Kingdom, Toybot, etc.
Yeah, well, that's it. I still haven't seen Wave 2 Dinobots here.
Yeah, I doubt you're going to be honest.
Yeah.
I think any hope that we might have had for that has long since passed.
Yeah, well, I was hoping for a sale like when they come down to $20 so I can get all 5 on shelves, but that's not going to happen.
It was a shame because Titan's Return was really well done in terms of distribution. And even when they weren't on massive sales, they still sold out pretty well.
Yeah.
Whereas, Powerful Primes are they've been more expensive and have just not been on shelves at all.
Well, they got to try and share the shelf space with Studio Series as well.
Yeah.
And RID and Cyberverse. So it's sort of they've pulled some of the distribution back while they're bringing new stuff out. It seems.
I
But
guess
moving
moving on
on,
to a bit more exciting things.
yeah, moving on from that, Takara Tomy, we've seen, I think it was Tokyo Toy Show?
It was that or Wonderfest, something in the last
Wonderfest. It
few
might have
months
been
in
Wonderfest,
Japan.
yeah.
Oh no, it
Yeah,
was the Hong Kong whatever the one of the Hong Kong inventions was.
yeah. It is the legendary Optimus Prime, which is the Takara's official redo of the Age of Extinction. Yeah, evasion mode Optimus Prime that's been made a little bit bigger, which possible leader class scale. And
Yeah,
from what I heard the other day too, it works with the MP10 trailer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always rumors going around of like people seeing the footage from Bumblebee movie, and apparently Optimus is in that and looks really G1.
Mm-hmm.
So this is under Bumblebee sub branding. I guess it just went, hey, we've got a reasonably G1 looking mold already.
Yeah.
It's been really well received, and so we're just gonna beef that up to be in that sort of studio series scale. But you can see they've improved it as well, like on the elbows, especially where it used to like you had to have it bent to look normal. Now there's a few more panels there, so it looks like it might actually be a properly functioning elbow.
I wish I had me evasion mode one to compare. Like even the fact there's windows or part of the cabin there on the bottom of the wrists.
Yeah.
I don't think.
And like this feels, you almost don't want to say this, but you know that Wei Zhang
Oh
oversized
yeah,
version from? Yeah, this
yeah,
is literally just taking hints from that. Like you see how they've changed on the robot mode, like the way that they've made it so that you can swap where the wheels are, so he can have two up on his thighs.
yeah.
That's the piece that engineering is just taken straight from the Wei Zhang.
But even there's some stuff like the calves and the legs look a little bit different to the original evasion mode. They've done a lot of retooling on the chest to sort of make it more boxier and get rid of some of that finer detail that you would have in a movie figure.
Yeah, it's not so panely, it's a much more defined figure, which fits in with what seems to be the aesthetic of movie figures.
Mm.
And the colors especially are really nice here. Just like big, bold, bright red and blue.
Yeah,
it looks
and
like
that grey silver.
yeah. It like the alt mode looks like bloody MP10. It's ridiculous. It just looks like a really heavily classic inspired Prime.
And again, there's a couple of things that have been done over the. I don't think the Evasion had the chrome fuel tanks on it. I can't recall.
Yeah, there's a lot of parts that are painted, especially, which
Yeah,
that was a big issue with Evasion, wasn't it? That
yeah,
it just didn't have any paint, whereas this is covered in it. So
yeah, well, it was all blue in the legs and all red at the top, pretty much. Like there's some kibble, like stuff on top of the roof there that was never on the Evasion one either. All that big. I don't think the big bumper was on the front of it either. Because all that had to tuck away into that wall. But
so I guess the whole, moving it up to a later class price point doesn't just give them the option of retooling. That budget just gives them a bit more room to work with in terms of paint.
It's not going to happen, but I really wish they'd done a battle damage version as well, the Takara. Because I've got that's the one Evasion mode I've kept in my collection is that Takara damaged rusty version.
They did do a lot of different colorways of
there's about 6 different versions out.
It's ridiculous. And then you have all the myriad knockoffs and stuff as well. And now you've got this one coming out too. It's like, this mold has been around. I mean, with good reason. It's one of the most impressive Transformers ever made. Like the torso literally flips inside out to transform.
Yeah, it even looks like there's a 5mm pegs or something on the bottom of his feet, even though it looks like it's rifled.
Maybe maybe that's for mounting his gun in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you see on the back of the robot figure, you got the weapon storage on the back of him as well.
Oh, that's quite handy. Yeah, I was wondering what was going on there because it looked all asymmetrical, but no.
Yeah,
that's really good. This just looks like a solid, well put together figure.
Yeah, and as you said, like that original one was fantastic. Like the very little back kibble at all. He stands well. He's pretty poseable. for the most part. Like you've got ankle joints. Looks like you got some decent ratchets there for the knees. Again, if you're going to upscale it, you want to be able to stand it.
Yeah, look, but by virtue of this originating from Evasion Prime, it's not an overly remarkable figure, but it does just seem to be one where it's like, yeah, it's just a well done leader class Optimus for movie collection.
Yeah, because even there you can see the fuel tanks behind the guns there. Must be faux tanks that go somewhere when it transforms. Oh, they're behind the.
I think.
Oh no, it's his carbs.
If they're taking inspiration from the Weizhang version, then the fuel tanks will actually detach.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, because that's two separate sets of fuel tanks.
Well, it looks like they're split in half. It's only
so maybe,
one. You got half on one side and half on the other side.
Yeah, okay, so the Weizhang Prime, his fuel tank splits in half. No, he has two half fuel tanks mounted on his
Yeah.
mounted on the side of his truck mode, and then they split in half, and they can store on the back, or they can turn into a gun.
Yeah.
But this guy has those two half fuel tanks, and then two full ones mounted on his legs.
That just
I'm not sure
rotate.
I'm not sure what's going on with the two half ones on his back, because they don't look like they transform any further.
Yeah, they must be hidden inside in the truck mode because there's no visible grey fuel tanks on the outside anywhere.
Yeah, but it'll just be part of that indeterminate mass there.
Yeah.
That'll also be interesting to see how well this scales, because Studio Series has been sort of carrying the higher end Bumblebee movie figures.
Well,
Studio Series has a really rigid scale.
Yeah.
And in that, Optimus is about a Voyager size, whereas here, he's going to stand probably toe to toe with Grimlock. So,
well, that's maybe why they've upscaled it so it matches with the movie Masterpiece Prime.
Oh, you're thinking they'll go for an MMS scale with this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they wouldn't really be able to budget for a second movie Masterpiece Prime that looks so similar.
Yeah, because if it was going for Studio Series, and yeah, as you said, it'd be a Voyager to go next to the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager that's already out.
Yeah, I can see why they'd budget MMS Prime for the new Bumblebee, because he's the main character of the movie. But if Optimus isn't going to be in this movie all that much, then I don't see any real reason for them to budget for the MMS. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense that this would be the MPM collection, and
yeah. Otherwise, they'd just add small paint to the original figure and make it a Studio Series release.
Yeah, could do they could easily justify doing that.
Yeah,
I think with Studio Series they've tried to keep it a bit purist and not bring in molds from other lines.
well, they're sticking with the first two movies. Like we haven't seen a Shockwave or Sentinel Prime or nothing from Dark of the Moon onwards yet. So
yeah, I mean, we saw we've seen a couple AOE things, but yeah, nothing from the last. Nothing
was Lockdown. Oh yeah, Lockdown.
Yeah, Lockdown and Grimlock, but then nothing from the Last Night and
Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, nothing from Dark of the Moon.
Well,
aside from that crappy Ratchet repaint.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see because we got there's a New York toy fairs coming up, or New York Comic Con's coming up in October, November. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of hinted there. Probably more Studio Series releases.
I imagine, I don't know, we haven't seen really any high end figures for Bumblebee movie for anything beyond Bumblebee and Dropkick. And it means we're still we're missing Shadow, we're missing Prime. Apparently Shockwave and Barricade are in it, and of course we're missing the friggin' indeterminate main villain of the movie. So that stuff has to get shown at some point.
Yeah.
As well as we still haven't seen half of the first wave of Siege. Like there's no Decepticons shown. So
there's a lot some listings
in the next few months, and I guess Toy Fair is in February, but I don't know if, given that Power for Primes is over, I don't know if they can afford, and most recent Studio Series waves are hitting now. Like, I don't know if they can afford to hold off reveals for that long.
Well, that's happened before. Like the movie's out in December. You want your Wave 1, Wave 2 out at retail before the movie hits.
It might end up just being like a last night type situation where they don't have any big reveal in like a con or a magazine or anything. It's just like, oh, the figures are out. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you remember for last night, we had no idea that like half of those figures were coming before someone just found them on store shelves.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of months. I don't even know where. There might be some Takara, some shows over there somewhere between now and November to reveal. Or, yeah, as you said, they're just going to say, oh, here's photos of Decepticons from Siege, or here's the rest of the movie line.
Yeah, I've always felt like that stuff was more Hasbro's purview for revealing. I mean, I'm not saying Takara's not going to do it. It just would be a little bit unconventional.
Well, they just go to an event and say, "Hey, here's Masterpiece Hound."
Yeah,
painted,
is a
painted,
fully complete, ready to go Masterpiece Hound.
That's all right. We'll find out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we can
in the months to come.
Coming.
Yeah, because as you said, like Soundwave, Blitzwing, whatever you want to call it, that we've seen nothing of that figure, and all that sort of stuff should be getting ready to be released, because it's not going to be waves of movie figures on their own. They're going to be slipped in with the Studio Series stuff over the course of the movie's release. So we've already seen the 15 Bumblebee repaints from it, and some of the Spark Igniters of the smaller, simpler movie bots, but none of the Generation / collector or more adult lines. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
But I suppose going on to the next story, Toy World doesn't really care how long after a film's released to have a go at one of the movie bots. FS01 World War One Bulldog, as seen in The Last Night. It
do you remember everyone's favorite character, Bulldog? Iconic.
Well, yeah, everyone cracked it because
incredible complex storyline. Bulldog, we all love him, don't we? Yeah, this guy was so yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he's the tank from Anthony Hopkins' Castle that has about 2 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, blows up the gardens and has some panels come off him as he transforms, and doesn't have a line of dialogue.
He has a line of dialogue. It's just I think we've talked about this before. How I don't know what it is with that scene specifically, but it has the worst audio mixing I've ever heard. Like you can't tell who's speaking at what time. I don't know what is going on in that scene, but it's just really badly done. He does speak, but it's just drowned out by everything else going on.
I think the problem is you get this is going to be fun trying to remember some names here. You get Cade turn up, and like he's just doing, you think don't you, dude? And people are just like, did that just come out of Anthony Hopkins' mouth?
Yeah,
and just you're in stun awe after dialogue like that, and you don't even realize that there's an old World War One tank transforming and saying something in the background.
Yeah, it's also the fact that like Cogman, Bulldog, and Anthony Hopkins are all talking in very similar accents, and then I swear to God, Bumblebee must have been using like a Mark Wahlberg soundbite in that scene because I couldn't tell which one of them was talking in that scene. I suppose on the topic of a figure, it looks solid. I guess it's in Studio Series sort of scale.
Well, yeah,
it does look a bit more simplistic than most Studio Series figures.
Yep. Yeah, it's smaller, about the same size as Ironhide, a little bit smaller than Brawl, which is probably a good scale.
Yeah, I'm actually quite curious as to what exactly is going on with this guy, because I look at the robot mode and I look at the vehicle mode, and I think, oh, that's going to have a really complex transformation because a lot of those panels don't seem to move.
Especially the chest. That chest just looks like a big
Yeah, it
slab
looks
of
like it's
triangle.
one big solid brick. So I'm like, where are all these moving parts coming from? Because then I look at stuff like the arms and legs, and they're barely posable, and not all that. Yeah, there's not that much going on there in the way of engineering. So
I don't know if you could
I don't
call.
know
I don't know if
where
you
the
can call
parts are
these.
coming from.
Hey, I don't know if you can call these photos actual photos of the figure. It looks more like they've just got an old tank. Because
Yeah,
like you've got
maybe.
the guns and all this here are on his arms. So his arms must go down beside his body, and then the tank bits form around it. Because you can see they split and form up. He's sort of doing similar to what the movie Megatron does with the split tank treads his feet. But
I'm I'm fascinated to see how exactly this thing works because I just don't see what it could do at this stage.
and you said simplistic. Like I really don't like the ball jointed elbows and that on it.
Yeah, they stand out like a sore thumb. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's that simplicity. It looks like a Legends figure, but it's the
yeah,
Voyager scale.
yeah. But if
And
that means it's only going
apparently
to
has
be if that means it's only going to be $40 or something, then I'm all for it. But
if they can save money on this by cutting down the robot mode budget, then I'm all for it.
yeah,
Given that it transforms accurately.
yeah,
That's yeah, it's mostly a matter of are they going to be able to put it at a price that justifies this level of engineering?
yeah. So even looking at that in that guy's hand, that tank's way too small to scale beside Ironhide or even the cars, for instance, because those tanks were pretty big. Although he doesn't look that big behind Anthony Hopkins in the film either, so it might be a mini one. But there, what have we got here? Oh,
They got
that's
some teasers for their next figures.
which would
So
be Bumblebee and Hot Rod from the
World War
storming of
Two Bumblebee,
Hitler's. Yeah, that's all
which
right.
actually I'm quite happy with because the studio series World War Two Bumblebee was it doesn't look like the greatest thing in the world.
No, no.
And
And we've talked over the last year with some of the third party companies going after movie figures, Purakill and that we've already talked about, but even some of them going after Prime Hot Rod and some of the other movie figures, and they just look fantastic, and they're priced pretty well as well, and scale in with some of the better studio series or better release figures like Age of Extinction, Evasion Prime, or even the new Megatron. But
yeah, we're getting to a point now where you're getting multiple companies tackling the same design from for a movie character. And like
biplane Bumblebee, Starscream, I'm guessing.
yeah, I guess this is like maybe they're trying to go for an original type thing.
If they go, well, we had all that artwork of
Oh yeah, maybe
Hound back with
Starscream go back to
Napoleon.
the biplane, one of those posters.
I can't remember if the Seekers were in like the Red Baron art or something.
Yeah, I
That's the
don't
problem.
recall
Is it's
seeing
going to look very
Starscream
movieverse
as a
still, but
biplane ever.
well, Hearts
Maybe
of Steel. He's a biplane Hearts of Steel, aren't they? Even
yeah,
though they're
maybe
stylized.
look, maybe Toy World's whole deal is just going to be like old timey takes on movie characters.
Which I'm all
And so
for if they do
the
that.
first few will be movie accurate, and then Starscream's just going to be a biplane for no reason. Like if they can do it well, then more power to them. I remember there was a while ago we were talking about, just how the third party market is dominated by G1 masterpiece style figures, and now it's getting to the point where it starts to feel like almost an even split between that and movie stuff because it's just I think it's in large part driven by the Chinese market, but it's just getting so popular.
Yeah, that's it. Like over here, people groan, grumble, and complain about the movies to the cows come home. But when they're selling Prime One Studios figures and all those large statues and that, there's a market. There's people that like the films and like the characters and like the designs and want to consume every little bit of it. And that's like third parties are finally starting to realise that.
Yeah,
And when they do the figure good, they realise that word of mouth goes around and people are buying Pure Kill and that and loving it.
yeah, like I guess for me, I'm not the biggest fan of the movies, but I know that a lot of people are really big fans, and I think they're not quite as vocal as other fans because often there's an animosity towards movies. so people don't really want to express how much they enjoy them. And
Hmm.
you know that is something that you see often repeated in various fan bases.
Well, that's
Um,
it. As soon as someone says something praise for a film, you get 5 people jump on them and
yeah, like
say it's shit. But it's sort
yeah,
of like one story that isn't here that I remember seeing yesterday and didn't get a chance to update run sheet. Jin Bao's doing a large brawl, which looks to be that leader brawl from the '07 movie, but more articulated and a bit better color.
yeah. There's
Um,
a
we'll
few.
talk
There's like
more about next week, but it was just good to see like Jim Bao and that doing the oversized or even doing KO movie stuff in that bigger scale and better built.
yeah. There's it used to be that that was all you could do for more high end movie stuff because you know large part of a movie fan base is from China and the Chinese market. Their idea is generally bigger is better, so you know just make larger movie figures, and you know copyright law isn't a thing there, so I just go ahead and do it.
Well, that goes
Um,
all the way back to like Dark and the Moon, that where you're getting massive upscaling of the Dark and the Moon Megatron and Shockwave and that,
yeah, but I think it's
where
you know in the
it wasn't even to scale. I think it was above liter size.
yeah, I was in when I was in Malaysia a few months back. You know, you see that stuff on shelves, and it's just ridiculous. Like, how can you give this to a kid? It's the same size as your child. But that's what people want. And in the last few years, we've started to see that shift into an area where you get stuff like that, Wei Zhang, Optimus, and the Black Mamba Nitro Zeus, where they're really like they're knockoffs, but they're really high quality figures
Hmm.
because they recognize that it's not just a matter of kids want big toys; it's also collectors want high end, accurate product.
Yeah, and I suppose the good thing, getting back to this figure briefly, like it's just good to see a new design for a movie bot, because a lot of times the movie bots reuse the animation they've already done before. Like my son, just on the way to camping, coming home, where he watched Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon, and just how many times in the background you see bots from the earlier movies just because they're reusing the CG.
Yeah, like there's a whole thing of Barricade isn't technically supposed to be in Dark of the Moon.
Mm,
Like Barricade, I think Barricade technically died in the '07 movie.
yeah. Well, they
Then
used
they
his car driving through the desert in Revenge of the Fallen, and
and then brought him back in the last night.
yeah, yeah. So
But yeah, good to
even
see him touching the more niche parts of movies as well.
yeah. Well, even when they were at this castle, you see the miniature Jetfire sitting there that's coughing and spluttering as they take off and leave after the time grenade goes off. There's that little mini Jetfire there that's only the size of Cogman or a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and like there was that guy. There's a few little hidden bits, like in the junkyard scene for one shot. There's like
Oh,
a big
that
excavator
excavator,
robot
yeah, yep.
that's like it's using. Um, I think it was a Scrapper's CG model that you never actually see in robot mode.
Well, you see
So
it
it's a model they
briefly.
never actually used in Revenge of the Fallen, and then they used it for an Autobot like for 2 seconds in the last night.
Well, you see it briefly when they pull him apart down with Megatron in the ocean, and then again see it briefly before Bumblebee destroys him walking amongst the buildings in the little town in the desert. But
And
again, you never see a full shot of it.
yeah, you probably know more about it than I do because I cannot stand that movie, so I haven't watched it in a very long time.
That's all right. Um, but
Which,
yeah, it's good to see. Good to see this stuff happening, and I can't wait to see final paint on it and prices.
yeah, just cool to see such a unique take on things.
Yep.
Speaking of unique takes,
Perfect effect. Going from strength to strength. I've seen a review of that Beast Wars Transmetal 3 Dragon Megatron the other day, and that thing looks fantastic. But getting to the news of the day, they're doing Jet Power, PEDX10 Jet Power Revive Reveille Prime. We got some color renders here of a Jetfire Prime, hinting, homaging Revenge of the Fallen.
yeah, it's like a G1 style Prime with a trailer that turns into a take on the movie
Jetfire's dead bits.
Yeah, this is and in the combined mode, it looks very movie-esque, and in just a single Optimus mode, all it has to remind you of a movie is basically just a couple of flames on the chest. Like the aesthetic shift here is really clever to me.
Yeah, and again, after watching the movie yesterday, just how close this is to the Jetfire Optimus Prime we see at the end of the film, probably more so than any of the official stuff we've got. Because a lot of those, especially the leader ones where you just combine it, was half a Jetfire hanging off the back of Prime and didn't look that good. But it's sort of, it's even the Prime itself, like the design sort of looks like the new Siege Prime without the added bits on the top.
Yeah, especially the vehicle mode. Like
yeah, that's what I was
sort of raised surfaces and the rivets a bit. Yeah, like the way the grill and the bumper sort of stick out off the front. But yeah, it's obviously just in terms of figure itself, it looks incredibly well engineered. You know, it looks like it transforms a hell of a lot to get in between the two modes, and
super articulated.
yeah, the friggin' ab crunch and everything.
Yeah,
I think what I just love here is Perfect Effect just doing this thing which a few third-party companies started to do, where they're not going to bother following the trends or anything like that. They're just going to make the figure they want to make, and when it comes out looking like this, more power to them. It's
yeah,
just brilliant. They're just pushing those engineering boundaries.
that's a massive gun.
Yeah,
That's going to be fun to balance with that thing sticking out in front of him.
yeah. It almost looks like it's homaging Transformers Prime as well.
Yeah,
Just sort of that massive underslung gun.
Yeah,
The proportions of that combined mode, like around the shoulders. Yeah, so it's like a triple threat homage, basically. It's your G1 Prime, movie Prime, and your Prime. Yeah.
Prime collectors beware.
Yeah. Prime collectors will take anything they can get, so it's really attract a few of them as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clear windows there. I doubt he wouldn't come with a matrix chamber.
I looking at how much
split
that torso is going to have to transform. Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a matrix.
Well, where's I suppose even look at the angles on the chest and that. It doesn't look like it looks like the cabs are fake.
Is it bloody? I'm looking at the combined mode now, and it's got parts which are homaging Jinrai as well. Like, what is even going on with this figure? It's just, it's touching on everything, man. It's ridiculous.
Big robot suck.
It's just, I don't know what. Perfect Effect's just jumping the shark here, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's just making big, awesome looking robots for the fact of making big, awesome looking robots.
But yeah, fuck it, we can.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to see some reviews of this thing in hand and see how it transforms, and even final color, if it's going to be that sort of candy apple gloss red, or if it's going to be more of a mute red.
Yeah. Oh, if it has that sort of metallic finish to it, I think that can be really exciting. Just sort of cherry on top of what looks to be a really full-featured package.
I wonder how big is it?
Doesn't give a size, does it? I'd imagine. Oh, total height of 24 centimeters. Total width of 26.
So it's fatter than his height.
Yeah.
26, 24, 7 inches.
24 is so it's actually not going to be like massive when it's fully combined. I guess that their what's it say? So the Jinrai they did Thunder Manus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be about that size from the looks of things.
So what's that halfway between Voyager and Leader?
Yeah, it's like a small leader, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of about blackout size, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah. Yep. Well, that's all right, and that's
it's sizable.
that's going to have a bit of transformation there to sort of get that big figure down that small truck.
Oh yeah, no kidding. And if it's not the biggest thing in the world, like it's got a lot of. Actually, the size might actually be a boon because if it turned out being really massive, then in some areas like you wouldn't. I doubt you'd be able to get it in aerial poses because the legs would droop down, and you wouldn't
Yeah,
be able to hold the gun up, stuff like that. So keeping it at a slightly smaller size would probably, go a long way to making it a more functional figure.
yeah. Well, I suppose similar as well. Last weekend when I was putting all my movie bots away, I pulled one of the tubs out to just sort of go through what I had, and that stupid big butterfly prime was in there, and just trying to get that trailer together. And it'll be interesting to see how they get this trailer to come to close up and come together into the box when there's so much stuff splitting all over the place, like his shoes, his calves, and he's got other bits on his back. And
Yeah, like I was talking about that Make Toys Prime. I was just mentioning like the way that it was almost the legs transform seems to almost take a little bit of inspiration from that. Just in terms of having these massive sections that and the Make Toys Nemesis, where it has like these massive sections that slide over the feet and lower legs, and then also the truck panels folding up and like collapsing on the outside of the legs.
those those blue kneecaps aren't on the bot itself. What do you reckon the chance is that his legs, as you see it on the combined bot, are all part of the trailer, and then up
I
where
think
his hips are, sort of just the torso and arms of the truck?
uh is he
Oh no, because the
even
trailer wheels are on his
yeah.
feet. So
Yeah, so I'm just looking at this. You can see I think there's blue sections on the inside of his legs, so
yeah,
those are the ones from the robot mode.
yeah. It looks
And
like
then
the
I
whole
think
back of
like
the trailer is his
yeah,
feet and
those
legs.
the black bits that clamp around his legs. I think the blue kneecaps are just a part of that.
Yeah,
Um, and it just gives off the illusion of being a separate piece.
yeah, yeah. Because all that back section there behind the symbol on his trailer, that all folds up onto his side of his legs there. The rear wheels and the tail lights of the trailer at his ankles.
Mm.
So that whole back of the trailer must come away there, and then everything else goes up onto his top. Hmm. No,
Yeah,
it'll be good.
really.
Can't wait to see him.
Yeah, it looks like a very promising piece.
Just briefly going ahead now into some legend scale news. X Transbots are jumping into or dipping their toe in the legend scale lines with a upcoming prototype here of G1 Sideswipe. I don't have a legend scale Sideswipe at the moment. I haven't really been looking at them.
There's been a couple that have come out, but yeah,
Yeah.
none of them have like absolutely grabbed me.
Well, it's like the masterpiece one. It's not really something I really want. I've got it out of having needing the G1 cast, but
Sideswipe's always been a bit, he's a bit unassuming.
yeah. Well, it's why I got the original one. I don't really care if they do a Sideswipe 2.0, but or a third party one. Like as Jason was saying last week, he's got the Bad Cube one just to go with his Sunstreaker. But
He's about like the least iconic a Transformer could get.
oh, poor Sideswipe.
Poor
People like
Sideswipe.
Huffer.
He's got good figures. That Siege Deluxe looks nice. This is a good looking Legends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if your proportions are a bit out of whack.
That's what I was thinking. The chest seems a bit small, and you got the big long legs.
Yeah, these massive feet, and then the shoulders just sticking out on these.
Yeah.
I don't know, protrusions.
And even like the car doors on his elbows or on his arms too.
Yeah,
well, I suppose you got to put them somewhere, but
yeah, it's not as well put together as the other Legends sideswipes that we've been shown.
So the arms must come around and peg into the tires there, or the shoulders.
And like I would say that this one might stand a chance on the market because of X Transpot's pedigree, but X Transpots doesn't really have any pedigree aside from being incredibly fragile.
Yeah.
It looks like
that looks
a
like
solid Legend figure. Like But I think we're reaching a point now where there's only you can only be so impressed by another posable Legends figure. Like there was a time when you give a Legends figure elbows and knees, and it was the greatest thing in the world. But now I don't know. It's because the market's just so saturated. It's like it's another little figure. Everyone's doing them, but it's not particularly impressive. There are ones that are better than all the others. Like the ones that stand as stronger figures, but they don't stand as stronger figures because of the whole being small Legends figures. They stand as stronger figures because in that context they're better than the competition.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it just seems to be how blocky and articulate can you make them without going to ball joints and open bits like this.
Yeah.
And just the aesthetic itself. Like if you can go as close to G1 as you can, because a lot of G1 figures didn't have a lot of articulation or even transformation steps. It's sort of it's an easy thing to be able to mimic. Like stuff, I'm surprised we haven't had Legends Superion or Combiners, or we've seen the Bruticus. But just
I've touched on it a couple times, but it's someone hasn't really. I think there's a Menasor in the works as well.
Yeah,
so certainly it is a thing, but you'd think that is actually a thing. Like we were talking about, I was just saying how we're not as blown away by Legends figures anymore, but everyone was really, people were really, really receptive to that Legends Bruticus that came out because it was, it's a combiner, so it's not a form of engineering that we'd seen yet in Legends scale.
Well, Hulky was the only one. And again, there was a lot of word of mouth around that Devastator. People loved it, but it was sort of at the point where we just had Toy World and Warbatron Devastators, and people were sort of burnt out on the whole Devastator. We'd had the Combiner Wars one as well, so it sort of just slipped by. Some Legend scale collectors got it, but a lot of people, because I think it was $160 as well, so it was sort of, you could get the Combiner Wars one for that and call it a day.
There was the whole thing of, I think it was the same issue with Bruticus as well, where it's the final combined form is only like $300 for it because it's 6 smaller figures.
And
it's easy to rationalize, when you're paying $30 a pop for a deluxe and then combining those all up, and you can rationalize paying $30 for a little Legends figure because it's packed full of engineering, but it's harder. For whatever reason, it's harder to rationalize paying the equivalent of paying like $30 each for 6 Legends figures and then putting them together for size of Voyager.
Yeah. I don't know where to go because I'm looking down on me thinking I've still got that Legend Shockwave and Prime sitting here, and so as I said when I talked about it on the show, like $50 for that DX9 Dutch. It does everything that I can see in a new masterpiece in looks and all that. And for $50, if I was paying $50 for Legend scale figures like this, then I'm paying that for Legend scales figures like this, and I'm not even buying anything retail just because nothing from retail really wows me, and I don't really want that stuff. It's just going to be getting the toy box for the young fella to play with. So that's getting purchased on clearance sales, and that I'm not paying full price for those figures. And even looking at the Studio Series, same with Brawl. I really want to get the Megatron, but Brawl I've got no time for. I prefer the leader one from the first movie. Yes, it's not going to scale right, but I still reckon it's a better looking figure.
Yeah, I'm starting to drift into the same boat where.
But even the Legend scale figures, like
with what I'm actually buying. Just not touching retail.
Yeah, but even with the Legend scale figures, like I can't remember who's doing it. It might be DX9 they've done.
You mean like it's a sort of thing where even those don't quite feel enough.
Yeah. Anyway,
you're talking right now because I cutting out a bit.
Yeah, you're lagging a bit too. I don't know what I dare say.
Brad?
Some. Yeah, I'm still here.
I think you have an audio issues then. Okay, yeah, sorry, the audio was just really choppy for a second, so
Yeah,
it's all better.
You're cutting in and out as well.
I couldn't hear. I was having trouble hearing you just then,
All right.
but now I can hear you fine. Am I having issues now?
No, you're coming through clear again now.
Okay, let's just hope it stays that way.
Sunday afternoon, everyone in town's online, so the Wi-Fi is probably shit house.
No, yeah, maybe. I'm one of 2 people in the house, so hopefully.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. My
eases
son's
a
probably just fired up his iPad, so he's watching YouTube or something now. So everyone will be online. So we'll get this done before we completely blow up. Briefly, too, just going into this for the last story of the night. Takara Tomy Metacoli Series G1 Transformers and Insignia incoming. They got some little painted die cast.
Yeah, little metallic figures.
Yeah, 5 to 10 centimeters tall, almost in scale with what we got with the MP line when they decided to do little die-cast figures, except for these ones are painted and not bronze or gold or silver, whatever they were. But little G1 figures with some limited posability.
Yeah, they've done them in before.
Yep.
I think these are more of a Japanese market type thing that I don't see these very often at all outside of just like a couple of places in town where no one actually buys them.
Put a little string on the head and hang them from the Christmas tree.
Yeah, I think this is more for either, overseas markets or like sort of entry level fans, basically. But they're cute little figures. They look really animation accurate. Like,
yeah,
that is a G1 cartoon prime to a T.
Yep. Even Megatron, it'd be fantastic just having that Megatron Prime on your computer desk at work or something.
The unfortunate thing is they're about $15 each.
So. Well, that's why you get 2 and call it a day. You don't collect the whole set.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't get really comprehensive with these for movie ones. They did, just 2 or 3 for last night.
Yeah.
Last I saw from. So, like, if it's this sort of thing, you chuck it on your or something like that.
And no one would have seen that because I didn't have a screen share.
If you work at a place that has a desk, I suppose.
Yeah. All right, that's all right. We're still getting choppy. Max, any new acquisitions?
Right, I'll try to burn through them quickly because internet. So really quickly, just another Iron Factory Seeker. This time, this is their Amethyst, which is their take on Hotlink. It sort of blew me away that this thing existed, to be honest, because I did standard 6 and then Acid Storm and Sunstorm. And they were like, nah, okay, we're going to do friggin' Hotlink as well, which is one of the most obscure characters a third-party company have a take on. He's said like 2 lines of dialogue ever, and I could not be happier to have a toy of him because he's a complete nothing character, but I love him regardless. And then a bit fancier than that, in still third party, is Mastermind Creations Turben.
Hello.
Sort of their take on Whirl. It's not quite G1. It's not quite IDW. It's just a good solid Whirl figure. Really solid MMC build quality, tons of posability, nicely detailed, and a really well engineered transformation. He's sort of a mix of aesthetics, but he works well in G1 or an IDW display.
How's he fit in size wise with the rest of the IDW figures that you've got currently?
We'll grab out what's something that everyone's going to have. Here's the MMC Megatron, so that's the 2 of them together. So it's a pretty decent scale. Yep.
He's not as bulky either. He's obviously being a helicopter is a bit more spindly than what the Megatron is. So
yeah, he's actually Here's the thing, because I guess they're going for a mix of us. He's actually bulkier in this figure form than he is in the comics. Like in the comics, he's quite skeletal, whereas this guy's, he's not a big boy by any means, but he's got a little bit of chunk to him.
Yep. Did you get the Generations one that come out with Whirl and some breakdown?
That one,
Whoever,
not that one. That's one of those figures where it was sort of on my periphery for a while, that it was sort of something I considered buying just to fill a slot. Just in terms of actual figure engineering and how much value I'm going to get out of it, it didn't excite me all that much.
Yeah, because I wonder, I don't know if Jason got or not, because it was at the end of that line, end of that wave that come out just after again Springer and Sandstorm. So I was logged in with those figures.
Yeah, it was that Thrilling 30 Generations line where it was all fairly IDW inspired, and then there was like, oh, Whirl's popular in the comics, so we'll do a pure G1 version of him.
And then we got Jetfire.
We got $20 Jetfire.
Oh, very nice.
Anything for you?
No, nothing new this week. I had a couple of items come in from Toybot Imports for getting some stuff together for the end of year Christmas donation drive.
Ooh, very exciting.
Yeah.
Started early.
Oh, we got to start getting stuff organised, so paid for and everything else, so we can get that going. Probably the 1st of November, we're going to start that. Awesome. But also in TCA business quickly, I've got collector cards. They come in this week, so I'll be getting. I think there's a couple of dozen people that's still waiting on their memberships packs. There's a couple of people who have signed up in this last week and a half that are waiting on their membership packs as well. So that stuff will be going out this week to members, and we'll probably end up having another paid membership giveaway for the club birthday in a couple of weeks' time on the 23rd or 24th of September. So stay tuned to the Facebook group and the website for that.
Yeah, speaking of club events, we're going to be holding a stall at Adelaide Comic and Toy Fair on October 1st. That is Labor Day Monday. I would encourage everyone to come along.
You get that Monday off as well.
Yeah, it's just quite handy. It means I don't have to bother taking time off work for the club. Make things very easy.
That's the way we want it.
It's one of the nicest events in Adelaide. Just really low key, but there's a good crowd there. A lot of nice people and a really good selection of stuff. So come along, come say hi, have a good time.
Yep. No, great. I'll get the details for that off you during the week so we can get it updated on the website as well for upcoming events.
I'll send those through to you after the show.
Lovely. All right. Thanks for listening. And if you've been watching along on YouTube video, feed, channel, something, thanks for watching. You can head over to transformersweekly.podbean.com and download the podcast version, produced version of the podcast there. iTunes, all your social media, all your podcast catches, the RSS feeds over there, copy and paste, and you can go through the backlog of episodes and everything else. Or to see more about the club and what the club does, you can head over to transformerscca.com, where, as I just said, we're going to start getting the upcoming events gallery update. Upcoming events calendar updated so we can start getting stuff organised. We got birthday celebrations coming up in the month of September. We're going to start getting organised as well. So stay tuned for that. There'll probably be a barbecue in your local area. And Max, me and you can be found over in the group. Head over. If you're not a member and you live in Australia already, come over, come say hi and join up. Talk some Transformers.
Yeah, nothing to lose. Go over, have a good time.
Yeah, just don't go near the buy sell trade group, otherwise you'd be losing money. But getting some good figures. So until that next week, that's us. Thanks, Max, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be back next week to talk Transformers once again. See yous.
All right.
All right.